Hello, everybody. Welcome to Full Throttle Business. This is the show we interview local business leaders to find out what it takes to build a business that's operating full throttle. My name is Kelly Pice. I'm the owner here at Action Coach Central in Southeast Virginia. And today I have a Chip Mardis, the founder of Blue United Sourcing, with me as my guest. If you're new to the show, be sure to like and subscribe so you can see other shows as we drop them, just like this one. So, welcome, Chip. Really appreciate you taking some time with us today.
And Kelly, appreciate reaching out. And we really enjoyed our pre-taping conversation, and then you also have an extremely interesting background, which I can relate to a lot of it. That's for sure.
Excellent. So to set the stage for the listeners, just tell us a little bit about your background and your business.
Yeah. So where Kelly and I share a lot of similarities. We're both Army veterans. He had a much more exciting role than I had, but I was a fellow Army officer, transportation corps guy. Spent 7 years active duty, and then when I decided to move forward, I launched my career into the logistics world, and ended up spending part of that in the logistics operations world, and then found myself into the human resources functions and spent the next 32 years in and out of, believe it or not, various aspects of retail, the last 20 in fashion in retail. And the last 5 years, I have gone back to my roots of part of not only my initiatives, but pet projects throughout my corporate career was putting soldiers and military spouses, veterans, military veterans, to work within corporate. And it was very, very fulfilling with me. It was even a better business opportunity for the companies that I served. And today I've kind of, continued that on, and we put military veterans and spouses to work within industry. So.
Excellent. So generally speaking, what's the current ownership structure look like? LLC, partnership, S Corp, C Corp?
Yeah, I'm a LLC S corp.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome. That seems like what most people
I am
do.
I'm the sole owner.
Yeah.
Yep. Sole owner. Yeah.
Yep. So tell us a little bit about the role that you're currently playing in your business.
Um, I surround myself with really smart people, and I get the hell out of the way. So it serves me pretty well. But in all truthfulness, it's it's pretty factual. I have placed people in roles that have had expertise in areas that I haven't had, and I never liked being micromanaged. I'm a very trusting soul until you share with me that you can't perform that job. I think I'm a pretty good job at character and acquiring skill sets, since a lot of it was in talent acquisition. But yeah, I have my roles, the areas in which I focus on primarily is putting veterans and spouses into the healthcare industry. So I went out and got myself um, a medical officer who did that for her career for 20 years in the same space. And I have awesome recruiters, people that are very operationally driven, people who've had experience doing recruiting. And again, all my teammates are active duty vets or military spouses. So
All right.
I kind of set the direction. I like to think I'm the chief communicator. I do a lot of the cheerleading of the organization, but I also do a lot of the business development. So
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of that leads into the next question. When you're looking at your role, how many hours do you typically spend working in the business, the job stuff versus working the strategy, planning, et cetera?
interesting question. Probably I'd say the strategy at this point of our organization, I like to refer to us as a an emerging startup. We're in our going into our second year. Um, Probably 10 to 15% strategy, and the vast majority of the time actual operations, executing our plan. Yeah.
Let's move into what makes your business so special. I mean, if I was in the audience, how would I know that I'd be a good fit for your service?
Um, we have the ability to find talent in virtually any arena. I think I am well spoken that coming out of 30 plus years in corporate where I ran some really, really large talent acquisition groups in some very diverse organizations. I have the confidence that either myself or many members of my organization can find that. And our unique offering, while we primarily focus in on the military space, we hire everyone. But I like to keep our value proposition is 60 to 70% of all the people that we place have some affiliation with the military.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, despite the fact that this country is 250 years old, there's still smoke and mirrors or misunderstanding what veterans and military spouses can bring to the table. And while it's a cross section of America, and I have to be just as challenging to find great talent in this space, when I find great space, they clearly stand out amongst their peers. They're very
Yeah.
mission oriented. They come to work, they learn, they're very educated, they're very mission oriented because if you're a spouse, you ran, your mission was to keep the family together while while the husband or the wife was deployed. But so my offering is I can find great talent in the military field where most people cannot. Um, there's also a misunderstanding about what the military can offer. Every division of the military, and I'm speaking of the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and now I guess even the Space Force, right? Each one of those, especially the larger ones, they're a $240 billion organization. And you better believe that everything that you have at US Steel or at the Target Corporation or at Walmart in the corporate office in the field, we can find them in these divisions of the military. There are HR experts, there are attorneys, right? There are auditors, there's training and development. There's management in ways that we couldn't even dream of out in the corporate world. And there's finance. And so many of those folks are not only dedicated, but they're incredibly well educated. And they've been put to task at a very, very young age. So they're really driven. They certainly don't do it for the money. And when they come out, a lot of these folks are very motivated to move on with their life. So
Yeah. So, um, it's kind of unique in your businesses. Correct me if I'm wrong. You kind of have like two different customers, right? You have the people you're putting the people that are you're putting in to positions, and then you have the companies that are looking for people. Is that right?
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, very, very accurate. You made that observation when we first met, and I'm going, well, you really do get it. Yeah, 1000%. Um, and what's been my new challenge is, as you talked about the outreach, what separates me from a lot of the other people that are out there that are in this busy space, and truly, what can you differentiate where's the value of hiring a military veteran spouse versus a civilian? Well, you
Mhm.
have to look at those on an individual basis, but based on the quality of the candidate I bring to you, it clearly stands out. But yes. So you need to have a source of talent, right? And we have a very unique fashion in which we do that. And that is probably the lesser of my concern based on my lifelong existence of keeping very strong relationships into the military community and the fact that my associates, my employees, and for the last 5 years, I've lived in these marketplaces and we've built these great relationships. That's less of the challenge than it is for me to find organization that wants to put our veterans and spouses to work. So that's been, never been a small business owner up to several years ago. The business development and hunting, the great targets out there is probably the more challenging for me than it is to find the great talent.
Yeah. So why do they choose? Why do your customers choose you?
They choose me for several reasons. One, the majority of the folks that we have had great experience placing veterans or spouses at work. They understand what the value is, so it was not a challenge for me to either present them as a critical differentiator from other people, but it makes them more competitive. So it was already proven to them.
Mm.
Um, other segments of the population or industry are attracted to us because it meets a need for them that due to either federal contracting regulations or working in this contracting space, hiring a veteran-owned small business is a requirement for the work that they do. So that plays very well. Um, Many business leaders are patriotic.
Mm.
While I don't wrap myself in the flag, I present it as a great business opportunity for you to great talent that other people, very frequently overlook. Um, they want to give back. Maybe they didn't serve, but they understand they had relatives that did it, or they have come across people in their careers that they stood out in their minds because they were great talents because they had been a senior NCO, or like you, they had been a senior military officer and just always impressed them with their presence, their mission orientation, their ability to figure out complex problems. So the leadership piece, they find it as a real key purpose of why people go after our military veterans. And the military spouses are very similar, but they I'm able to provide very large quantities of talent, groups of either a dozen or two or three, or doesn't matter. But our military spouses is a very educated um, uh, cross section of America. Overwhelmingly, 75 to 80% of them are college educated, associate degree, 4 year degrees. Many with master's degrees. Many are significantly more educated than I am, and they just haven't been offered the opportunity to really put that education to work because they've constantly been moving. And I think last, the biggest reason is that I can give them compelling arguments in my own personal experience, my own personal career, where when I brought in a veteran for a very challenging work, um, they met the requirements significantly better than their civilian counterpart. And I think I can encourage them to take a chance on doing that.
Yeah, yeah,
Long-winded answer, but those are my thoughts. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. What's the one thing you wish more people knew about your business?
Um, the openness and the flexibility in which our offering is, where I can offer anything from staff augmentation, basically a temp to a permanent type of environment, where I can hire literally dozens and dozens or hundreds of people as we have experienced in certain places, or I can turn around and find yourself uh, a a nuclear engineer for the nuclear power plants, or we can go find you the most qualified senior maintenance manager for any of your factories that you're specifically looking. And it just doesn't always have to be somebody coming right out of the military either. It can be a veteran who's already successfully transitioned, is in 10 or 15 years, and then they want to continue their career as well.
Yeah,
There are industries in which veterans are a no-brainer idea to go out and hire for your business. We certainly see it in law enforcement. We certainly see it in the airline industry. We certainly see it in the manufacturing industry.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but they continue to just be overlooked. And it's not surprising, in my humble opinion, because less than 2% of all Americans have ever spent or had any affiliation with the military. Less than 2% of corporate America as are veterans or spouses. They just don't know what they can bring. Leaving 98% of corporate America pretty much clueless on this incredible opportunity that's out there to tap into
Yeah.
this great talent segment.
Yeah, absolutely. This kind of leads me to the marketing, which is something that's vital to every business there, and it's often something that business owners struggle a lot with. So I'm always curious, what successful businesses are doing. What percentage of your monthly sales is typically invested back into your marketing budget?
Um, we're probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 12%, something like that,
Mhm.
which is probably larger than a lot of, the bigger companies to do it. But mine is very much grassroots driven. And it's driven by uh, Facebook and LinkedIn types of presence where we can go ahead and tap right into the communities in which our veterans and our spouses are living.
Mhm.
It's directed back at them. Uh, the LinkedIn in types of groups are more faced at and promoted towards the business community. So
Sure.
we have to do dual
Yeah.
sourcing at the same time.
So for your business, how many different marketing strategies do you use?
Probably use half a dozen. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Eh,
overwhelmingly, you might find it's kind of odd, but it's by reputation and word of mouth. Overwhelmingly, yeah,
Yeah, I was going to ask
especially
what's
within
the
the
number one marketing strategy is so like referrals type of thing.
it's referrals and word of mouth in these smaller communities. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, the military spouse community in particular, it is not a trusting community. Unfortunately, I'm sure you saw it. They are often taken advantage of. They believe they're being swindled. They are often targeted from bad people trying to take advantage of them, and we are tested in really, really big ways.
Mhm.
What does this cost? Tell me about the type of companies you work with. Why should I go with you? And it's by word of mouth. Oh no, no, no! I worked for Blue United for 6 months, working in the uh, uh, working for uh, the Pfizer Pharmaceuticals or the J&Js of the world, where we're supporting rollouts of a particular drug and then provided patient services and things along those lines. So those are by far and away our best communicators and promoters
Yeah.
of our brand. It's been folks that have been in our uh, talent cycle, and that we bring them back year after year into similar types of roles.
Right. So what approach have you taken to track your leads? I mean, do you have a particular CRM that you use or anything?
It's not a full blown CRM, but an operational uh, program that we are able to manage our database in a pretty flexible format. Yeah, yeah. I would
Okay.
like to, as we continue to get bigger and better, it'll probably be a much more impactful CRM, but a full blown one. We're not operating currently with one.
Okay. So we spent a bunch of time focusing on the business and sharing some of your best practices with the audience. I'd love to take a step back and dive more into your journey a bit more. So why did you choose to go into business for yourself as opposed to choosing to work for someone else? And what was that transition like?
Um, I won't say it was out of necessity, but I got tired of um, having to chase opportunities, not allowing my experience to stand for itself, and having to reinvent myself every gosh darn place I went. I happen to be in the fashion retail business. It's funny. Every who knows me looks at me like, geez, you can't even dress yourself. How did you ever get into fashion retail? It was a fascinating business and still remains to, but I have no fashion sense. But I know what great talent looks like, and it's an incredible people business where I can bring folks together, and that's what I love to do. I guess that's really what it's answering your question. Um, I got I got bounced out of there, the top of my game as a chief HRO twice in a period of 4 years, towards my top earning years. And I got tired of it, Kelly. It was just like, I don't need this. I want to go out strong. And by the way, I don't want to have to quit if I don't want to quit. I love to work. I love this space. I love what I do. And when it's purposeful like this, it makes a lot of sense. So kind of went hand in hand. I was motivated where I saw other people had made successful transition into this entrepreneurial world. I thought that I could do well at it. I did a lot of research for people who I admire, and they thought that I'd be really good at it. and then taking all my admiration and commitment, my life's work of taking care of vets and spouses. I said, let's put two and two together and come up with something really unique. And that's kind of what did it.
All right. So looking at the journey so far, what's been the most memorable roadblock or hurdle that you were challenged with that you had to overcome?
I'm still overcoming. This is probably where somebody was as smart as experienced as I was. I probably knew better, but I thought people had the best intentions. And they say this all the time when you're launching a business. You're going to learn so much in your first year, year and a half.
Mhm.
Um, I I probably launched in a really, really big way before I had certain contracts completely spelled out. And I took um, somebody's commitment to me verbally to go ahead and launch in a really big way, and it still hasn't yet come to fruition. And I paid for it out of the pocket. I paid for it somewhat in terms of making commitments to a lot of candidates that I haven't been able to live up to. And A, I knew better. B, I always had in the back of my mind that, if this doesn't come through. So I've scrambled very hard to take care of the people that we had initially identified to hire to put into these roles, and I've had to find other roles for them. So
Mhm.
I was too trustworthy. I was too trustworthy.
So what
Mhm.
impact did that have on your growth as a business owner?
Um, it forced me to say, we need to continue to go down the road, diversify. I can't put all my eggs in one basket like I did. I had limited resources and I got out over my skis. And, again, I should have known better. And I knew it was a risk, but I said, if we're prepared to do this and this guy gives me the verbal commitment, it's going to happen, we'd be in a completely different. So it was a calculated risk. And
Yeah.
to this day, it hasn't come to fruition yet.
All right. So let's fast forward a little bit. What comes next? Where do you see your company in the next 3 to 5 years?
I want to execute on everything I got on my whiteboard. I worked really hard on the business development. I think I built some great relationships. I've been thrown three or four really challenging big time searches for some really big companies, and we came out swinging and we have delivered. Now I want to go back and tap into those companies and said, okay, what's next? I went out, I proved our worth. What do I need to do to continue to earn these types of opportunities? That's the one thing. Um, I would really love for my healthcare division to continue to grow and become more profitable than it is. I see that as always being a real major backbone for a couple of reasons. There's so many military veterans and spouses that are in this space. We want to be unique, that we would like to be the first place that they look. So I think that's a no-brainer, but there's a lot of effort has to take place behind the scenes. But it's also in terms of an economic engine for Blue United. Healthcare is always going to be around. You can't AI it or robot it. Um,
Mhm.
nurses, doctors, they will be there to support patients for forever. So
Yeah.
diversify and really be able to go ahead and now leverage the relationships that I've made in a relatively short period of time. Mhm.
All right. So what's been your approach to goal setting? You mentioned your whiteboard. How many goals do you set at a time? How do you document them? What's the time frame of your goals?
Uh, from a strategic standpoint, we have a new business development meeting every week, and we typically spend an hour and a half, and we throw goals out there. For example, in the healthcare industry, our recruiting team has a goals of the numbers of people that they want to contact and the number of people that they have cleared, and they're going to present to our contracting partners, by numbers.
Mhm.
Um, I believe that we have enough business in front of us in terms of if we execute with what we've already established in this really short period of time, we can go narrow and deep on all these types of things and be very, very productive. But I can't afford to take my foot off the gas either. So if I had half a dozen MSPs up there that are really significantly uh, it looks very promising. I can't believe that's going to happen until it comes to fruition. So
Yeah.
until we put people to work, it's still just a belief.
Yeah. Yeah. So when thinking of, you know, businesses moving forward, the future of business, it's important to address the topic of building a great team. So how would you describe your leadership style in your business, and has it changed over time?
Hate to keep going back to the military, but again, I think you could relate to this being a field grade officer. Um, there were officers and NCOs who led by the brass on their collar, and there were guys who led by setting the example, not putting their people in any type of role that they wouldn't do themselves. Um, I found the military experiment to be absolutely fascinating. I loved what I did. I love motivating the guys. That was the fun part of it. And I think the fact that I love to lead, and typically it's out front, has served me really, really well. I give people space to uh, do what they do best. I mean, what is a manager, right? I always thought that a job of a manager was to eliminate obstacles so people can do their work. Well, I believe that, right? Um, I believed when I was in corporate, our job as an HR group was not what you typically look at HR, but let's find the greatest talent that's out there. Let's find the right seat of the bus for them on, and then get
Mhm.
them on that bus, right?
Yeah.
We got the NFL Combine going on. What's am I looking for a wide receiver? Or am I looking for the best possible athlete that's out there? And I always typically led that way. So again, I ramble, but
Yeah.
what you see is what you get. I'm not a micromanager. I'd rather have people I'd rather have people falling on their face because they're pushing the envelope and they're trying to make something happen than to fall on their backside and play it safe. I
Yeah.
have always felt that way. If you screw up, we learn from it and move out smartly. And that's
Yeah.
always
You got
been
to
my
undermine
my,
honest
my gig.
mistakes so they take initiative, right? And continue to
Yeah,
take initiative.
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so what's been your approach to hiring and retaining team members?
I hire for attitude. I've always hired for attitude. You can find some of the most smartest, brilliant people in the world, but if their attitude is surly, or they're not a team member, or they're not adaptable, you can leave them at the train station. I don't need that. I need somebody who can be multidimensional. Again, somebody who's going to have the work ethic and the talent to be able to make this happen. This is not a role for anybody who is looking for a 9 to 5 job. I tell everybody that there will be times that you're going to be required to put a 10-hour day, and maybe some days 12-hour day on a weekend. I can't predict that. But if you do that for me, I will pay you back, in spades in the future, when you're going to be able to share the success of this organization. So it's another reason I look for folks in the military veteran space, and in the military spouse space. Work ethic is typically not a concern,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
it's so unique too that they can all relate to what we're trying to do. So
Yeah. Yeah. So what area of training do you believe your people will need the most in the next 6 months or so, based on your business climate and where you're heading?
training, they're teaching me about about chat and AI. They're making themselves very adaptable. They're learning it and bringing it into speed. Um, the technology piece is not a overused strength in my collection of abilities in any way, shape, or form. Never was. So I depend on them, and I encourage them to go out and find and get the types of training, or again, be very curious, bring people to us that we need to talk to stay current. It's changing fast, and the systems that we have are constantly being upgraded. The methodology in which we're marketing consistently gets challenged, right? So, uh, I allow them to go ahead and continue to operate that way. But we hire really smart people that are driven, and when there's good ideas, they bring it to me. And if they need things, they're not afraid to ask.
Okay. So We've covered a lot of ground in our conversation, and lots of really good nuggets, I think, coming out of this. As we begin to wrap up, I have a few rapid fire questions, kind of quick top of the head answers for each, okay?
Sure.
So, what is the key to success for you?
Have trust and faith in others. Think of the best things for people. Put people in their positions to be successful. Yeah, that's
Okay,
been
so
it.
what's one piece of advice that you have for other business owners or somebody wanting to go into business?
Um, Sweat the details, and if you're not the person who sweats the details, make sure you have somebody who does. But uh, that, and then follow back on your gut and your experience. You asked me that question, what's a mistake I made? Shame on me. I knew better, right? I really
Mhm.
did. But I got so excited about the opportunity that I saw it through a rose-colored lens instead of,
Yeah.
the black and white that it should have been. Mm.
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, as an entrepreneur and business owner, constant learning is so important. Is there any one book that you're reading now or you've read most recently that you'd say strikes you or somebody, you recommend people should read?
My fallback has and always will be good to great. It's
Mhm.
just the simple strategies about being best at. I just think right seat on the bus. It just consistently has dominated my thought process on not only setting this up, but it also validated decisions that we've made. Yeah,
All right. So if you could choose only one area of your business that you could immediately improve tomorrow, what would it be?
the healthcare area.
In what respect? Just being able to find
Um,
more.
I would be able to secure more open, more free willing subcontracting roles. We're still kind of the tail of the dog. We're reacting to other contractors, and it's a challenge to be either a prime or a significant senior subcontractor. Would make a would allow me probably a little bit more breathing space and to be a lot more effective.
All right. So before we get to the final question of the day, how can others learn more about you and your company? How can they get in
Well,
contact?
it's the old line. You go on our website. It's blueunitedsourcing.com, and it's right there, black and white. I'm pretty proud of what it represents. I think it's a very strong reflection of who we are
Mhm.
as an organization. I'm on LinkedIn. It's under Chip Mardis, Mardis. You can find it there. I would love people to link in with me and be happy to share contacts. And if you wanted to do a one-on-one with us, I'd be thrilled to share what we're doing and learn from you as well.
All right. So last question of the day. What is most inspiring to you these days?
Probably the most inspiring to me is the challenge is to live a good life and to do the right thing in this crazy, divisive, politically charged world that we're in. That I just believe that, for the gain of others, we are being divided. And it's not the country that I love. It's not the country that our military vets and military spouses want to be part of it. And I'm inspired to making it a better place by working with organizations that look for opportunity for people. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So great. That's a great answer, Chip. That wraps up the interview. A nice job. Thanks for taking time with us today.
Kelly, thanks for reaching out, man. It was very, very enjoyable, and I really applaud Action Coach, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you a little bit later. All right, so but thanks for reaching out. I really appreciate it.